Hello friends, I am Dr. Harsha Suryavanshi, Associate Professor from Sri Shivaji Law College, Parbhani. In this video, we shall discuss about provisions for Board of Conciliation under Section 5 of the Industrial Disputes Act. Whenever the appropriate government requires that an industrial dispute needs to be forwarded to Board of Conciliation, the appropriate government shall constitute a Board of Conciliation. The formation of Board of Conciliation shall be published in Official Gazette. Now let us see who shall be there in the Board of Conciliation. The board shall comprise a chairman and members. Members shall not be less than 2 and shall not be more than 4. The chairman shall be an independent person. Members of the board shall comprise representatives of disputing parties in equal number. If either party fails to recommend members of the board, then appropriate government can appoint such member. Now, what shall be the quorum for proceedings of the board? If the board comprises 3 members, then the quorum shall be 2. If the board comprises 5 members, quorum shall be 3. Even if the chairperson or chairman is absent and the quorum is present, the board can conduct the conciliation proceedings. Now let us continue with duties of board. The board shall try to bring about settlement of the disputes. To settle the dispute, the board shall investigate or examine the dispute. It shall also investigate other matters without any delay. The board shall make the parties to come to fair and peaceful settlement of disputes. After completion of proceedings by the board shall prepare a report. If the matter is settled or dispute is settled, then the board shall prepare a report and forward it to the appropriate government. The report shall be forwarded along with memorandum of settlement of the dispute. The memorandum shall be signed by both parties to the disputes. However, if the board does not succeed in settlement of the disputes, then the board shall prepare a failure report and forward it to the appropriate government. The failure report shall contain the proceedings that are undertaken by the board, the steps that were taken by the board, and what were the reasons for failure of the settlement. The board shall submit its report within 2 months, or as the period, if the period is extended, then within that extended period. Now let us see what are the powers of board. The board shall have similar powers to that of a civil court. The board members can enter into the premises after giving reasonable notice to the occupier. The board can ask any person to attend before the board and examine the person on oath. The board can compel person to produce documents and material objects relevant to the industrial disputes. The board can also issue commission for examination of witnesses. When it is not feasible to wait for the witnesses to come before the board and board is of the opinion that evidence or statement of such person shall be taken at the earliest, then the board can constitute a commission for examination of witnesses. The Act presumes that the inquiry and investigation by the board shall be considered as judicial proceedings. As regards procedure of board is concerned, the board shall fix its own place and time for hearing of the dispute. The chairperson shall summon the parties. The parties shall prepare their list of witnesses and documents and submit before the board. The chairman shall issue notices to serve summons. The summons may be served personally or by registered post. If the summons is to be served to number of persons simultaneously, then the board can deliver the summons to the secretary or principal officer of union if the workmen or disputing parties are members of a trade union. That means if there are multiple persons to be called upon, these persons are members of a trade union, then notice or summons can also be served to the secretary or principal of the trade union. If the members or the parties to this dispute are not members of any trade union, then the board shall affix notice of the proceedings at the main entrance of the establishment. Thank you friends for watching the video. Thank you very much.